Hello everyone, good evening. Welcome to tonight's virtual Ramadan event organised by Dialogue Society and Fellowship Educational Society. My name is Halil and I'm also a volunteer at Dialogue Society, and I'll be the host/moderator for tonight's programme. I want to begin by giving a few words and thoughts that we've produced and came together at Dialogue Society and our reflections on the past few years. So the last 1 to 2 years have been marked with the coronavirus pandemic and the impact it has had on everyone in the UK and the world. Our thoughts and prayers are with those who have struggled or lost their lives in these difficult times. And we'd like to give a special mention to key workers, NHS staff, and all their families who have worked relentlessly and tirelessly in this pandemic. There's no doubt that without them, we wouldn't be able to be in a position that we are in now, with a roadmap and a light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. In accordance with the government guidelines, the Dialogue Society and Fellowship Educational Society have had to cancel all their planned events and upcoming events, and especially the Ramadan iftar, so fast-breaking events that usually take place annually. However, thanks to technology, we're able to be here tonight with you all, and although sadly we won't have any food on offer, we'll have to save that for another time. Again, this Ramadan event has a special theme, and today's theme is Rekindling the Community Spirit in Basingstoke. Our speakers will touch upon that theme one by one. I'd like to welcome them all our panelists and speakers, and let everyone know that we anticipate to finish at around 8:20 p.m. Hopefully that will give enough time for those who are breaking their fasts to get ready and enjoy their meal with their family. Without further ado, I'd like to pass on the virtual microphone to Deputy Lord Lieutenant of Hampshire, Tom Floyd. A very warm welcome to you. And yeah, so would you be able to share your thoughts and reflections on the theme of the event, please?
Good evening, everyone. Yes, I am delighted to join you this evening. I'm representing Mr. Nigel Atkinson, Her Majesty the Queen's Lord Lieutenant of Hampshire. Given this evening's theme, which I totally support, of rekindling the community spirit, I hope it's appropriate to recall my thanks to Her Majesty the Queen for all she has done over nearly 70 years to support every aspect of community spirit throughout the United Kingdom and indeed further abroad. And it feels particularly poignant as today she performed her first public duty since the death of her husband, Prince Philip, who was an unshakable support to her throughout their married life. Whilst COVID has generated many challenges and much suffering, it has also brought forward some remarkable examples of community spirit. I'm thinking in particular of the teams of volunteers who have helped run the vaccination centres in Chinham and elsewhere. They have been truly remarkable and unfailingly positive and polite to all those attending. And I would encourage everyone who's listening, if you believe any particular group of volunteers has provided a really outstanding service, do please think of nominating them for a Queen's Award for Voluntary Service. Anyone can make a nomination, and the details are quickly found on the internet. The award is very prestigious and is often described as the MBE for charities. I'm sure others will speak on this, but sadly the worst pressures from COVID have frequently been felt by those least equipped to cope with them. Single parents with children trying to cope with all their normal challenges as well as homeschooling. Retired veterans have particularly suffered, again, often living alone or in some cases homeless. And really sadly, there has been a significant increase in the cases of violence and domestic abuse. The list of suffering is long. As restrictions are eased, it is my hope that many of our wonderful charitable organisations, and indeed all of us as individuals, and indeed everyone who is participating tonight, will be able to reach out and help those most in need. For anyone who is linked to our local charities, do please have a look on the internet at the Hampshire and Isle of Wight Community Foundation, based in Basingstoke, which has managed a very significant increase in grant making to support local charities and their clients through COVID. Last year, grant making by the Community Foundation increased to over £2 million, and recovery from COVID is a key theme for their grant making in this year. So for all of those of you who are working so hard at the front line to help people, do please go there for a little financial help if you need it. I really applaud everyone for adopting the theme of tonight's talks, Rekindling the Community Spirit, and I look forward to listening to all the other speakers, and hopefully I am within time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Lord Lieutenant, and I'd like to share your remarks on what a terrific job the Queen has done in, representing this country for such a long time and still remaining steadfast and strong despite her loss. Thank you very much. I'd like to quickly pass over to the Mayor of Basingstoke, Councillor Diane Taylor, and I invite her to share her thoughts and reflections as well.
Thank you very much indeed. I trust you can all hear me okay. This is always a pleasure to be with the Iftars. This is my last time to be with you as Mayor, but Andy and I always like to join in with you for the Iftar meal. Hopefully it'll be a meal next time. Andy is a representative of the Christian community and me as, in the future, an ordinary councillor. So it's lovely to be with you again. Looking at the subject, if there's one aspect of social well-being that really reaches my heart, it's loneliness. You may well know that the philosopher John Donne proclaimed that no man is an island. I don't think that's strictly true, if I'm honest. In fact, I don't think it's true at all. To be honest, in a very real sense, we are islands, individuals with our own thoughts, ideas, and convictions. But what is intended by the statement, I think, is simply that people need people. If we're isolated for too long, we wither, we cease to function properly, our thoughts are skewed, and our decisions become irrational. I know that even for me in my role as councillor, I've attended many virtual meetings, I've emailed, I've Zoomed, I've texted, I've talked on the phone, but I've said to Andy that I feel in it on my own during this period of time. When there are issues to deal with, you need people alongside you, physically alongside you. As you'll know, in the Christian and Jewish faiths, from the very earliest moment of scriptural history, we learn that interaction is vital. Right from the dawn of creation, God made the first human in his image and then declared that it's not good for us to be alone. The first human needed companionship. And from then on, fellowship, defined as friendly communication between people, has been the cornerstone of our mental well-being. I was asked in one interview whilst Mayor, what aspect of human suffering would you most like to relieve? Well, that's obviously impossible to really answer. But the first thing that sprang to my mind was loneliness. Over several years, I used to organise a project called Holiday at Home. This was for mostly elderly people who couldn't get away for an actual holiday but needed a break. And we collect all our guests and drive them to our venue in Basingstoke each day and give them a few days of fun, activities, an outing and excellent food. I think we who organised it enjoyed it every bit as much as our guests. Everybody left happier by far, not because of the things that we did, but because we were together doing those things, talking, sharing, helping, laughing, even just sitting alongside others is a tonic for the soul. I shall never forget also knocking on the door of an elderly gentleman just before Christmas 3 years ago. I had a hamper to give him, donated by the churches. As soon as he saw me, he burst into tears. And then I couldn't keep back the tears. Just to see me on his doorstep was all that it took for the loneliness to have expression. Needless to say, I went in for a cup of tea. We've all read the reports of the increase in loneliness during this pandemic, especially amongst young people, in fact, and the consequent decline in mental health. The positive out of it is that it has been recognised and emphasised. Loneliness and isolation, the need for meaningful human interaction and friendship, has been highlighted over the past year or so. And now, as we emerge from the restrictions imposed on us, here is an opportunity to do something about it. As in so many aspects of social well-being, faith communities are looked to. And as we all emerge from our imposed isolation, it's an opportunity to recognise afresh that caring human interaction is the nourishment that makes us flourish. And the wonderful thing is that in helping to relieve the loneliness and isolation of others, we're doing the same for ourselves. Serving others is the greatest way to feel part of things again and feed our own souls. So we're in a win-win situation now. We can all help others. And here are the 10 benefits of serving others as defined by a recent research project at UCL. Helping others feels good. It creates a sense of belonging. It gives a sense of purpose. It helps to keep things in perspective. It is contagious. It can actually help us to live longer. It gives us a sense of renewal. It gives us self-esteem. It creates stronger friendships. And it makes us glass half full kind of people. The byproduct of all that self-improvement is we're making a positive difference to other people. So as the pandemic mayor, I've had an opportunity to hear so many acts of kindness around our borough, as we've heard from the Deputy Lieutenant. The pandemic has, for the most part, brought out the absolute best in people, whose immediate reaction to the emergency has been, what can I do to help? I do so hope that the same attitude carries over into the post-pandemic period that we're hopefully just entering, where people's needs won't be physical so much as mental. So as I hand over the mayorship of this borough in a couple of weeks, I'm going to seek out ways to break into people's loneliness. This evening's focus has helped me in that resolve. So I do thank you, and thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you very much, Mayor, for that touching, honestly, speech. And I, as you all may know, this week is Mental Health Awareness Week, so it's a very relevant and heartfelt topic. Thank you. I'll now pass on over to Dr. Ismail Sezgin, who is at Regent's Park College at Oxford University. And welcome to you. Microphone is yours. We have our topic, which is rekindling the community spirit.
Thank you very much. Is my sound coming okay?
Yep.
Yeah. I have always difficulty arranging that. Thank you very much for inviting me. As we are approaching maybe one of the last 2 days of Ramadan, I'm saying maybe because at the end of this, I will explain why it is. I think Ramadan provided us an opportunity to connect with ourselves and with wider world in various ways. And the very first one is it has created an opportunity for us to connect our deeper self, to explore ourselves, to understand our weaknesses, and to come to terms with our humanness, and by experiencing hunger maybe, and making new resolutions and making new changes in our life, it made it created an opportunity for us to maybe better ourselves, and I hope that we can continue that. On second level, Ramadan gave us, and especially the iftar events gave us an opportunity to reconnect with our family again. No matter how much we would like to think that we are connected, nowadays everyone is eating at different times and having breakfast at different times. It used to be very important to have one family meal at least together. And in a way, one month in every year, we get to sit down all together on an iftar dinner, and we get a chance to reconnect with our family on a different level. We prepare the food together, eat the food together, and pray together, and that is an opportunity to come together with our family. It's also a time to connect with wider community, like the event like this, and the way it was pre-COVID era, getting together around iftar table again with wider communities. And also it is a time where we go out to mosque every night almost, and join our local prayer halls with other neighbors that we have. We give zakat to, we do some charity and give money to poorer people than us every year, often happen in this month. So it's a time to connect with our wider community as well. And I think it is also a time to connect globally with rest of the world, because knowing that Ramadan is observed by all Muslims around the world, and when we sit down and wait for iftar, we know everyone in the same timeline is almost waiting with us to get the permission to consume that what has God bestowed us as bounties. And then it reminds us that we come together in various times of the day to pray, to eat, and to make good deeds in the world. And finally, maybe, and this is most relevant today, Ramadan also provides us an opportunity to connect the wider cosmos. By the wider cosmos, I mean Ramadan starts with a lunar new moon and ends with a new moon of the next month. So as of today, you may have already seen the news, whether in Saudi the moon was sighted or not, and whether other countries agrees with that, and where various places people are getting out into real space, into real fields, and whether it is using a telescope or something, they are trying to see the sense whether the moon is emerged. And that gives us that actually we are not alone in this universe, and there is the other satellites and stars, and the rest of the cosmos is connected to us, and we react to when something happens in the cosmos. So it gives us an opportunity to connect the wider cosmos, remember how small and insignificant we may be seen in the widest spectrum of the cosmos. And I'm hoping that in all these connections that we may try to remember and encouraged again for a full month, there is some of those connections strengthened and stayed with us, and maybe we will take some of our resolutions with us and become a better person and improve ourselves every Ramadan a little bit better. And thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts and telling us all about that little difference of sighting the moon and how that can be seen in a very interesting way. Thank you. I think we now pass it over to Simon Bryant, who is the Public Health Director at Hampshire County Council. Simon, if you're with us, over to you.
Good evening, and thank you very much. What a pleasure to be here. And I was just reflecting and listening to the other speakers, and so much of what they said is what I have been thinking about. First of all, I think as Director of Public Health, I can say personally, I know how challenging this has been. I became Director of Public Health about a month before the pandemic started. So for me, a little bit like the, if I can say the pandemic mayor, as she called herself, I feel like the pandemic Director of Public Health. And I think, when we're talking about rekindling that community spirit, our communities really matter. They matter for health. And I think for me, as a Director of Public Health, we know communities are that place where we connect in social communities, we come together, we have supportive relationships, friends and family, and make that work. And I think it's really good for health. We know connecting is good for our health. just a reflection on me on COVID. I know we're trying to move past that, but if I just start with the fact that, you know, as we've had this pandemic, sadly, 68,000 people in Hampshire over that have had COVID. And we know that's had a real impact on family and friends. And I know the measures we had to put in place nationally and locally to prevent further spread were really difficult to connect with our friends, with our communities, and with our faith groups. And for me, you know, I didn't take those measures lightly, but they were really important to save lives. And I think going forward, we have really seen a really good community response to COVID. We had about 52,000 people who were clinically vulnerable being supported. We've had new partnerships with our communities to support these people, with supporting around shopping, prescription, dog walking, those feeling isolated and lonely, as the Mayor has said, and others. So really loads of things that we have done in this pandemic that have actually shown what great communities and what great connections, and how do we carry those on to make sure that we can really further our community connection. And as I say, as Director of Health, I want to improve the health of the population, and communities and connections are so vital to that. And I think it's been really, COVID has highlighted some of the really good things around our communities, how we support each other whilst it's been really difficult. I think the other things, as the Deputy Lord Lieutenant said, you know, the vaccine, voluntary support for the vaccine has been really good. The vaccination transport, befriending, and supporting people to isolate. And self-isolation has been so key in this. And I know personally, when being asked to self-isolate because my son was awaiting a positive test, it's really hard and you feel isolated. So how we support each other in that is really, really good. So I think for me, as we rekindle that connecting with communities, let's take on the good that we picked up in COVID. You know, let's not forget the hard times we had, but let's move on with the good. So thinking about that, we think about how we further will be supporting those people who have been more affected by COVID, some of those communities. We need to think about how we further connect our knowledge. And as Hampshire County Council, I want to do that with our communities, really understand how we can support, work and learn from each other. Communities are so vital. And yes, I sit in a job in Hampshire County Council, but actually our communities are what I'm about. I want to improve health. I want to support communities and connect with communities. Really want to engage better with communities so that we can understand what the issues are, what the health issues are, and actually what are the assets in our communities that we want to further, so that we can further take forward improvements in health. And just finally, I just really want to offer some of the resources. There's an awful lot of resources we are trying to make available as a county council, thinking about some of our support websites. So we've got one particular on mental well-being, which we've just set up in Mental Health Week, as you mentioned, because we know that's really important. And so that's on our website. And also there's lots of support around domestic abuse, bereavement, and those kind of things. And as communities, we're really good at doing that. How do we do more of that? How do we support those people who are beginning to struggle with mental health, or have started to notice that some of their behaviours are not what they want to take forward? So I think there's an awful lot out there that I think, as together, as both from my representation of Hampshire County Council, but with the communities, we can do an awful lot, because I do believe communities are the way forward, and they can improve the health of the population and also improve our lives. So really, thank you so much for having me here this evening and enabling me to connect with this community. I really value that.
Thank you very much, and thank you for also doing your job, in the sense that you must have had a very stressful year, I imagine, and it's a lot of pressure. So I think everyone will join me in saying a big thank you for all you and your staff have done.
That's very kind, thank you.
I think we're going to be moving on to a Kahoot quiz now. So I've been told that we have very impressive prizes. So if everyone can potentially join the quiz, if anyone has played or joined the Kahoot quiz before, they should know. But if not, then you need to go on to kahoot.it as addressed in the URL bar on the screen share right now. And the game pin is 7620292. if you enter that and enter a name, preferably something somewhat identifiable. So if you do win and you do wish to receive your prize, you can do so. So we'll have, for example, Joanne joining in. And once we have a substantial amount of people, we'll hopefully kick off. The quiz is around questions on Ramadan and Basingstoke. I don't know if everyone caught that at the beginning, but if you're a local and if you have a little bit of knowledge about Ramadan, you have a good chance of winning. So I'd say put your hat in the mix. And I'm just checking to see what the exact prizes were. I think we have, yes, so £50 for first place and 40 for second and 30 for third. So it's up for grabs. And if I hadn't seen the questions beforehand, I would have definitely joined in. I think there's still a lot of people who are probably getting there as we speak. So
Or it's going to be an easy competition.
Yeah, otherwise we have a lot of potential winners. There we go. We have lots of names coming in. Let's give it, yeah, so people are still joining. So let's give it a minute or two and then we'll kick off. I don't want to keep people waiting for too long. So just a reminder to join, if you go to www.kahoot, so KAHOOT.IT on a separate device. And the game pin is 7620292, and you should be able to access as people are doing so right now. I think the person controlling the screen can start when we're ready. I think I'm ready. So, yeah, there we go. I'll try and read out the questions as well. So, firstly, what is the name of the Eid after Ramadan? Is it Eid al-Fitr? Is it Eid al-Adha, Eid al-Ramadan, or Ramadan Eid? Those are your four options. So 3, 2, 1 seconds left. And the correct answer was Eid al-Fitr. So very well done to the 13 people who got it right. So where did Basingstoke Town SC used to play? Was it at the Emirates, the Camrose, Winklebury, or Wembley? I know where I wish they were playing, but ooh, so the Camrose was the correct answer. 5 people got that right. What is the nickname of the town's football team? Is it the Blues, the Dragons, the Stokers, or the Albion? So we have 10 seconds remaining. It's all time based. Get your answers in, and it's the Dragons. A lot of people got that one wrong, surprisingly. But it is a difficult question if you're not very into football. Okay, the main overspill, so a history question, from London to Basingstoke occurred in which year? Was it the 1950s, 60s, the 1970s, or the 1980s? It was the 1960s. Again, quite a lot of people got caught out on that one. So it'll be an interesting few rounds, and a lot of people haven't got all of them right yet. So what is the museum in Basingstoke called? Is it the Willis Museum, the Joyce's Museum, Eastrop Museum, or the British Museum? We do have 2 museums in town, I believe. Should know. Yes, it's the Willis Museum, so the other one wasn't given. That was the only correct answer. So which London train station would you come directly into from Basingstoke? Would it be London Paddington, London Waterloo, London Euston, or London King's Cross? If anyone's made the train journey, they should have a good idea. I know I have many, many times. London Waterloo, yep. A lot of people have, I guess. So Basingstoke is popularly known as Donut City, Eclair Town, Bagel City, or Pretzel Town. Can only be one sweet dessert answer. It's Donut City, famous for its roundabouts, I guess. Question 8. Many years ago, the areas around Basingstoke were used for sheep farming, wood farming, cattle farming, or waste ground / common ground. So another history question for you all. It was sheep farming, and tricky question, I guess, unless you're a good local historian. Okay, Basingstoke is mentioned in the Domesday Book as, see, I won't be able to read Old English, so I'm not going to try and pronounce all of these. I think that'd be embarrassing. The red option, or the blue option, or the yellow or green? It was the blue option. Basingstoke, maybe. How many mosques are there in Basingstoke? Is it 1, 3, 4, or 5? You know, there's definitely one at least. Yeah, so there's one, a few. Most of people got it right. Question 11. So where was Jane Austen born? There's a statue of her in the town centre in front of the Willis Museum. So was it A, Oakley, Steventon, Woolton, or Old Basing? The famous writer, of course, or author. It was Steventon. So very well done. A lot of people got that one right. So compulsory prayers, I guess, in Islam are how many times a day? Is it 5, 4, 3, or 2 times a day? The last few seconds to get your answers in. quicker you answer, the more points you do get, so it's important. It was 5 times a day, so very well done to those who got that one right. True or false question. So during Ramadan, iftar is eaten before the sunset. Is that true or is that false? I can see pictures of food coming up on the screen, so if that's what an iftar might look like. Maybe it's a clue. It is false. So most people have got that right. It's after sunset. Very well done. Second to last, the penultimate question. Why do Muslims fast in Ramadan? Is it to lose weight? Is it to come closer to Allah, to God? Is it to save money? Or is it to starve themselves? Should be relatively easy, this one, I hope. Perfect. So everyone got that one right. It's to get closer to God or Allah. Final question. What is a prayer that is only done during Ramadan? So there is a prayer in Islam that only occurs in the evenings of Ramadan. Is it the Fajr prayer? Is it the Tahajjud prayer, the Witr, or the Taraweeh? Perhaps our Imam, who is due to speak after shortly, we might mention this. It's the Taraweeh prayer, so very well done. A lot of people got that right as well. Let's see who our winners are. So in third place, we have Lisa. Secondly, we have Priya. And first is the Fuat. So congratulations to those people. I think our organizers will get in contact with you as long as your names are identifiable, which they are. And thanks for taking part in the Kahoot quiz. I hope you enjoyed it. Over to our next speaker then. Normally the Right Reverend David Williams would have been with us this evening, but he's unable to join. He sends his apologies. He has, however, recorded a video which we'd like to share with you. And yeah, if we can play the video, please.
Mubarak Itfa. My name is David. I'm Bishop of Basingstoke, and I give you the warmest of greetings on this Itfa in the midst of this time of Ramadan. I'm so very grateful for the opportunity to speak to you and to share with you our common commitment to rekindle the community spirit of Basingstoke. Over the last 12 months, we have seen an unprecedented challenge upon us as a community. Isolation, which can be very harmful for the most vulnerable members of our community. Acts of selfless commitment to our neighbours and to others who have been in need. Many stories of exemplary community commitment. A year ago at this Itfa, I found myself drawn with you to a sense of our common purpose and our identity as citizens of this town. And a year on, that remains even stronger. I rejoice in your commitment to walk in a way of compassion, of an ability to listen carefully to our neighbours, to seek the cause of justice and to show mercy in all that we deal, in all the people we deal with. I want to commit myself to continuing these conversations, continuing our joint commitment to the common good, finding places where we can serve each other and serve the community that we wish to be proud of. We need to have both good and positive and upbuilding conversations, and sometimes we need to listen very carefully to robust viewpoints. And I am confident that with our shared humanity, our shared commitments to the cause of peace and to the building of strong communities, we have got a chance to do things differently, to imagine a different world. And so I rejoice in the opportunity to work with people of all faiths, but specifically tonight with my brothers and sisters of the Muslim community. May indeed you be blessed in your fast and blessed in your evening celebrations. And I look forward to when we meet again in person. And I will bring a large bowl of dates, for I would wish to eat with you. Mubarak Itfa.
If he were here, I'd like to thank him, and I'd look forward to sharing some dates with him. But yeah, so thank you very much to Reverend David, and we'd like to thank him for his message as a Dialogue Society. I did slightly confuse the order there, so we were supposed to hear from Joanne Jakimek, the Chief Crown Prosecutor of Wessex. She is with us today. So over to you, Joanne. My apologies for mixing up the running order. And again, we'd all like to hear your thoughts and reflections on this evening's topic.
Thank you so much. I'm really grateful to have been invited to join you again at tonight's virtual Ramadan event. It's a real honour to take part in this annual event. And even though I can't meet you again in person tonight, I have no doubt that we'll all take away really important and valuable insights from tonight's programme. For anyone who's not familiar with the role of the Crown Prosecution Service, which is part obviously of our criminal justice system, we prosecute cases, criminal cases across our 3 counties, including Hampshire and the Isle of Wight. In England and Wales, criminal cases are investigated by the police and other bodies, and then they are referred to us for legal advice, and we make decisions about charging and prosecution of cases at court. It's a real privilege and also a real responsibility to make sure that the right person is prosecuted for that offence, so that we can deliver justice wherever possible for the victims and our widest communities. We make our decisions independently of the police and the government, and we're very proud that we've been able to continue to deliver justice during the global pandemic. And before I move on to talking about rekindling community spirit, which is our theme for the evening, I'd just like to provide you with a little bit of reassurance about how we've continued to prosecute cases over the past year in support of our community. We've been very lucky in that much of our infrastructure that was needed to work from home was already in place, and so our staff have been able to maintain their duties. And our prosecutors have attended some court hearings virtually, who knew that we would be using the technology that we are now. But we've also continued to attend court in person to observe social distancing and measures to keep everybody safe, but so that we can support those community members who are involved in the criminal justice service, because they don't decide whether to join the criminal justice system. It's as a result of being involved in a crime. As a service, we've embraced our technology, but we have still continued to recruit staff from the wider community so that we can continue to support and prosecute. We've had over 50 new members of staff last year alone, and many of them haven't actually set foot in an actual office yet, but we look forward to welcoming them in person as we go forward. Our staff have remained committed, innovative and flexible to ensure that justice continues to be delivered for those victims and witnesses across our communities. And so what about rekindling community spirit, which is the theme for this evening? A very important part of our work is to engage with our communities. Not only do we want to inform the public about our role within the justice system, but we also want to listen to the concerns of our community members and respond to their issues and learn from the communities so that our decision making is of the highest quality and relevant to them. In Wessex, we've always had a rich programme of community engagement events, and none of that, I'm pleased to say, has changed over the past year. We've completely adapted our approach and been able to continue with our engagement work virtually. We hold scrutiny panels where independent members review recently prosecuted cases to consider that we've done all that we can to achieve a successful outcome. Unfortunately, as you've heard, we've seen that there have been increases in hate crime and domestic violence, and we have focused panels to assist us. We continue to meet as before, but we now meet virtually rather than in person. And we've also launched a further scrutiny panel in relation to modern slavery cases, because unfortunately, we are seeing young people who are being trafficked between London into Hampshire, and they are very often victims of crime themselves. We have a dedicated inclusion and community engagement manager, Beth Sparks, and Beth has continued to deliver hate crime sessions to our local schools. We've done 6 sessions recently on racism in response to concerns over the increase of incidents because of the pandemic. In September last year, we established a race confidence community group following a community conversation. At that event, we discussed issues around disproportionality and the response to COVID. And that group, we've had some deeply impressive and personal stories of the racism and the discrimination that individuals have faced. And that group now meets quarterly and helps us with our criminal justice partners to focus our priorities and our work with our communities. We continue to work closely with the communities, and issues or concerns that we cover in any of our engagement is driven by the topics that are raised by that community. At the moment, obviously, we are prioritising our education on hate crime and violence against women, and the impact that has on individuals and their wider communities. And similarly, we've also been working with Hampshire Police Crime Commissioners Youth Commission to discuss the crimes that those young people are being impacted with in our society. And following their discussions, we've delivered sessions on knife crime, county lines, drugs, and exploitation. And they're all topics that they asked to learn more about. So in short, in the midst of such a difficult time, we've still found an abundance of community spirit. There are many people in our communities who want to work together to see positive changes in society, and they will continue, I'm sure, to work with us in the future to help shape all of our futures. We are really grateful for the time and effort that our community members give us in their attendance, whether it be virtually or in person. And we will always continue our endeavours to embrace that feedback and use it to help us deliver justice for victims, witnesses, and the wider communities that we serve. Really grateful to join you this evening, and thank you for listening, but please do also engage with us. We want to make sure that we share information with you about the events that we do so that your communities can get involved with us. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jan. And we did lose your video connection for a short while at the end there, but I think everyone heard the important message that you had to say and what you said there.
Apologies.
What you said there at the end, to engage with the Crown Prosecution Service and learn about and take part in the work that you do and engage with you and your team. It's really important, so I'd like to relay that message. Thank you again. I think we're moving on to our next speaker. Is Imam Muhammad here? So I can't see his name in the panelists, but if you are here, if you could raise your hand, and hopefully they should be able to. I can see someone in the chat commenting, so if you want to unmute yourself, and over to you. I don't know if that's possible. I'm not dealing with the technology, however. I think something is being done, and I'm positive. So I'll give it another minute. And yes. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Hello. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone. And Ramadan Mubarak, a blessed Ramadan for everyone, for the whole community. Last Ramadan was a very isolated Ramadan for the Muslim community of Basingstoke, and we are very, very grateful and very happy. This Ramadan, we've had some community coming together, praying at the mosque. The places of worship were allowed to remain open this Ramadan. So what is Ramadan all about for us Muslims? So for the Muslims, Ramadan is one of the 5 pillars of Islam. Islam has 5 pillars: the declaration of faith, the 5 prayers every day, the giving of charity, zakah, and fasting the month of Ramadan is the 4th pillar, and the Hajj, the pilgrimage to Mecca. So it is very, very important, the month of Ramadan for the Muslim community. And the Muslims in the month of Ramadan, they would fast from dawn to dusk. They will refrain from eating and drinking or intimate relationships between the husbands and wives from dawn to dusk. And Ramadan is also one of the months of the Islamic calendar, the lunar Hijri calendar. One of the months is the 9th month. We also have the 12 months, but the 9th month of the Islamic calendar is Ramadan. So in the whole month of Ramadan, which is 29 days or 30 days, today we've had a confirmation that it's going to be 30 days, and the breaking of fasting, the Eid al-Fitr. Fitr means the breaking of fasting, will be on Thursday when we celebrate the festival of Eid al-Fitr this Thursday. So why do we fast? Why do Muslims fast? Because it's a pillar of Islam, one of the pillars of Islam. And we fast to enhance our relationship with God. You see, in the month of Ramadan, many Muslims come very close to God through good deeds and through spiritual connection with God. So the month of Ramadan is all about enhancing the God consciousness in people, in the Muslims. Also, it's the month of gratitude, to be grateful to God for the blessings that we take for granted, like food and drink, and also to be grateful to God for the revelation of the Quran. For us Muslims, it's the month in which the Quran was revealed. The month of Ramadan is the month in which the Holy Quran was revealed. So we show gratitude to God in the month of Ramadan through fasting. So how does this month, Ramadan, for the Muslims, how does it help, and why is it important to rekindling the community spirit? In the month of Ramadan, it's also about, for the Muslim community, it's a month of charity, a month of generosity, a month of sharing food, and also a month of donations. So the Muslim community here in the mosque and in every community, in the month of Ramadan, we tend to be more generous, we tend to be more giving. And we look for the people in the community that need help, that need support, and we support them. We feed the hungry, the needy. And the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, he is not a believer. He is not a believer. He repeats it, and he says, he's not a believer, the one who goes to sleep on a full stomach while his neighbor goes to sleep hungry. And the Prophet Muhammad also, peace be upon him, said, the best people, the best of all people, is he who is the most beneficial to humans and to other people. So for us, the month of Ramadan is all about getting close to God, all about doing as many good deeds as possible. And thank you very much, everyone, for your attendance. And thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, and thanks for sharing that very brief but in-depth overview at the same time. And I'd like to share your remarks in thanking you for creating that Ramadan spirit as well in this holy month. As the leader of the mosque. Thank you. We'll now hopefully pass it over to Emin. So Emin is a year 10 student at a local school in Basingstoke. He's also my younger brother, so he's just sat upstairs, and he will also be sharing a short essay that he's written about his thoughts and feelings about rekindling the community spirit.
Thank you for inviting me to the virtual Ramadan event and giving me this fantastic opportunity to present my opinions on what has happened during this tough and emotional year. COVID has affected many people's daily routine, with schools closing and migrating to online learning, to businesses and shops completely shutting down and having to adjust with online shopping, accompanied by people going unemployed and not able to provide for their families. COVID-19 has separated us from seeing our families who are more vulnerable and need more support than ever before. Luckily, our community has worked exceptionally hard to keep our loved ones safe by introducing vaccines that are remarkably efficient. Places of worship like churches, mosques, and synagogues having to shut down has affected the community, with gatherings like festivals, celebrations, etc. being cancelled. However, this has not meant that people's faith has weakened, as numerous amounts of individuals have stated that they are getting closer and feel closer to God and feel more replenished. Nevertheless, our communities are steadily recovering, with schools and businesses, with everyone almost adjusting to the pandemic by discovering new ways to interact with each other from a distance. An example would be technology. We are lucky to have technologies beside us, as technology has helped us socialize and feel closer to one another and create a bond with each other. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts as well, Emin, and I'd like to join you in all of them. Okay, I think we're moving on to a more arts-based part of tonight. So we'll be watching a marbling performance by Afra Nur, and then also a piece of music being played by Judith Silver. So I'll pass over to them.
Hi everyone, I hope you enjoyed the art. Thanks for having me. Bye bye.
Ya la la, 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 ya la 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 la, ya 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 la 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 la. We are blessed to be together. We are blessed to share these moments. Now it's never been, never will be again. But oh,
Thanks to both of those individuals, both Afra and Judith, for submitting those. And I think it's nice to have a short break to appreciate some art in two different forms before we do hear from other speakers. But I'd like to pass it straight on to one of those. So we have newly elected, I believe, Councillor Arun Mumamaleni, and he is also of the Basingstoke Multicultural Forum. So I'd like to pass the virtual microphone on to him to share his thoughts and reflections on tonight's topic.
Hope you can see me and you can hear me.
Yeah.
Can you please? Okay. Okay. Good evening, and thank you for having me today. I'm not the only one who felt the change in the air during those tense first months of the pandemic. There was significant change in energy and all the heightened attention to ourselves and sudden realization of a duty of care.
Apologies
for our neighbors.
I think we've lost your video. Could you try turning it on and off again? My apologies for interrupting. There we go. That's better now. Thank you.
I think there is a problem. So if it is okay, I can switch off the video and I can read it. Okay.
Okay. Right now it's fine. So lost you again.
Right. Okay. Our neighbors and community became more enriched. From checking on our neighbors to exercise our routines, volunteering our time for the less able, clapping for the frontline workers, to simply being more humane, we proved capable. And so why should I stop? The deepened understanding of carefulness and an appreciation of what we have should continue to be at the front line of our lives. Carrying responsibility for the knock-on effects of our actions is important. And I believe that a good portion of the time before COVID, we were already kindling community spirit and can seek to improve on their frequency and quality in order to rekindle and keep the community spirit alive. So how do I do it? I ask myself, how do I do and what else I can do during this time? So some of the ways that we could include and doing it and carry on doing it is a community afternoon tea or a party in the park, which BMF is championed for, and I've been continuing it, and we should continue the same kind of stuff. Or a 1930s themed dance. And what else? Of a murder mystery event. So we organize this kind of community events to bring the people together. Or a more social cause of a litter picking exercise once in a month. How about that? That brings the people together. Or a check on your neighbor a day. Why can't we say go out and say a neighbor hi to them? Or a bake day for a charity. Once in a month, choose a cause and choose a bake day for a charity. These are all the ideas that I got in my mind to continue the rekindling that we have been developing for past 1 year. All of these and more will foster decline in the cancer of individualism. I'm sorry to say the individualism is good to boost your own profit, but that is not good for the communities. Before the pandemic, especially in the pandemic situations, and help each other remain vigilant in our independence to keep that spirit alive. So before I close the remarks, I would like to share my personal experience during the pandemic. So during the initial days as a community hub coordinator, I got a call from the community hub and asked, okay, there is a old gentleman who lives in Old Voting Road and he needs help in his shopping, in his medicine. So I started doing it. Once in a week, take his shopping list and go to the supermarket, shop for him and deliver it. So that has become my life routine over a period of time. And every Friday, I used to call him and around 7 o'clock in the evening, and he used to supply the list. Saturday morning, go out, do the shopping along with mine and drop it at his place and come home. But what happened, around 2 or 3 months back, probably some people who are following my Facebook, they would have realized it. I called him on Friday night. He didn't pick the phone. So I thought, okay, probably, he may be in the restroom, so he didn't pick it up. So I tried after 1 hour. No, he didn't do it. Then my anxious level started going up. Oh, hope it is not a bad news. Then again, I tried in the late night, around 9:30, 10 o'clock. No, I didn't get the answer from the phone. I'm very worried. So, to be honest, I couldn't really sleep it with a thought that something might have happened to him, who is in his 90s. So what I did, on the Saturday morning, around 7:30 time, before I do the shopping, I went to his place and I knocked the door. And then I didn't get the answer. Again, I knocked the door. After 2-3 minutes, he got up and he came and he opened the door. And I was so joyful. And I can't forget that day. Then I asked him, what happened to your phone? And he said, you know what? My phone is disconnected. It's not working. The BT hasn't fixed it. They're supposed to fix it 2 days back. They didn't. So I'm myself wondering, how do I need to reach you? Because that gentleman doesn't use his mobile. So I got relieved and I took his shopping basket. So this is the way. I think I'm not the only one who has experienced this kind of individual attachment towards your community. A year back, I don't know who he is, but now I have a very close friend and I'm very happy for it. And I keep doing this and I love doing it. If he don't see me or he doesn't listen to me after 1 week, he calls me. So that is the community spirit. And that gave me here. And the rekindling is so important for individuals. And with this, and Ramadan, I know I brought up in a place called Hyderabad, which is in India, where the population of Muslims are significantly high. And many of my close friends are Muslims. And this entire month, we used to go every evening to my neighbors, Muslim friends, because they have a lot of feast. So we used to enjoy that. And of course, we are missing that feast, but the spirit is continuing. And Ramadan Mubarak to all my Muslim brothers and sisters, and happy Ramadan. Thank you very much for giving this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor, and thanks for sharing that touching story. I was slightly worried for a few seconds, but it's great to hear that your friendship has blossomed over the past year, and I think we all have made a friend or met someone in a similar manner. So thank you for sharing. I'd like to now pass on to Miss Pramila Ben Patel. Apologies if I do pronounce any names incorrectly, and do feel free to correct me.
No, you've done right. You have said right.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Over to you, Pramila. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I have made some notes, and I'm going to read my notes because I couldn't remember everything. I am Pramila Patel, and good evening to all my friends. And I am representing today Basingstoke Hindu Society, and many thanks to the host for inviting me. I feel honored and privileged to be here sharing spirit of Ramadan. Talking about personal reflection and thinking about rekindling the community spirit and what this COVID has done. As we came to the end of the year 2019, celebrating New Year's Eve with our family and friends, no one could have imagined how the new year 2020 was about to unfold. No one imagined how this COVID-19 would have a direct effect on our everyday life. Within a few short weeks, the threat had spread all sectors of society around the globe. What we have now is a strict standard guidelines of isolation, away from loved ones, and not to be able to carry on with any of our daily lives in order to protect ourselves, sick and vulnerable. Our life have changed to this sudden adjustment. This COVID has also brought some positive benefits as well, that it has allowed people to rekindle their spirits in helping each other in any possible way. For the first time, what it seemed like forever, all people of all ages have something in common, is to stay safe and well and follow guidelines for the protection of self by keeping the distancing. Now, what we see is the love in human and kindness, which largely was absent for so long. When the lockdown began and normal social context began to fade, the threat of loneliness and isolation amongst the community was a big issue. As the community centers, places of worship were forced to close their doors, which were often a hive of activities for old and young. A group of volunteers from different faiths and culture came up with lots of ideas and made use of the social media, kept all the communities, groups of elders and kids in contact, and shared their skills that were dormant, now have been reawakened. Celebrate all different functions, activities via this social media. All groups of different religious background, with help of volunteers, have worked together to deliver food packets, meal to vulnerable and in the hospitals. Did the shopping, collect their prescription all over the country to ensure that the people's basic needs are being met. These volunteers need no gratification than the smile, appreciation, and that they are in our prayers. That's a good help spirit that they showed. What this COVID has done is increase the spirit of togetherness and family, friends, and also the nation. It is so important to keep this going, for all communities to come together, how this modern technology have connected all families, loved ones across the globe. Earlier, when I said some skills of the people were dormant, I would like to share one of my personal experience was that I loved singing devotional songs. And our temples being closed, we could not go. I started singing, and I have got lots of I'm very passionate about singing as well. So what I did was I found out, and during this lockdown, I got connected with the singing centers in London, and on via Zoom, I started singing my devotional songs, kept going, and that made me made me feel so happy that I could do something that I could not have traveled twice a week to London. And also, this lockdown has given me so much confidence, like talking today on the public screen. It has really given me lots of confidence, which I never had before. And I thank all this to lockdown that it has brought people's confidence open. We have been connected with each other. We find if anybody needs any help or anything, we have got somewhere to rely on. And thanks to the lockdown. And I believe that this rekindle spirit are here to stay long after the lockdown is lifted. People have realized that the good it has done and will continue to do so. We stay together and work together as a community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I'd like to share your thoughts and feelings as others.
I was nervous. I was very nervous.
Let us hope that it does continue, and
thank you.
It is an effect of the pandemic that, stays with us way beyond.
Thank you. Thanks.
I'd like to now pass over to Mr. John Hayward of the Basingstoke Interfaith Society to share his thoughts and remarks.
Thank you very much. Yep. Thank you very much. I'm very grateful to be invited this evening and to share as a Christian and as a member of the Basingstoke Interfaith organising group. We've heard a great deal this evening from different perspectives of the frustrations that have come with COVID. Those frustrations have often turned into fears. And there's also been a focus on the future, that people have started to think more about the meaning of their life and the future of society, their jobs, all sorts of things during the quite stagnant period, really, of being stuck indoors and controlled what we can do. Certainly there have been many good things that have taken place, and many of the speakers have referred to them this evening. The helping of others, being aware of others, going out of our way to avoid others and smile at them at the same time as we've walked along the streets. We've also seen some very negative things. The greater use of social media has meant a platform for great abuse of some people, to the extent that the Football Association and other sporting organisations boycotted social media for 4 days. A quite remarkable thing. The other thing I've noticed, talking to people and also hearing from the chaplains who are walking about in the town centre, is that many people are fearful of socialising now that we're allowed to do so. we've spoken about the loneliness, but one of the consequences of that is that people feel uncomfortable. How should they behave when they meet other people? We can't hug people. Can we shake hands? What do we do? What do we talk about? For many people, a lot of our interests and activities have been on hold for some time. What about infectiousness? Would we catch COVID or would we pass it on? So people are very nervous. I think there are a number of things that we need to bear in mind as we rekindle society. We need to remember that people have struggled. We've all struggled with different aspects of COVID. So we need to treat people with sympathy and with kindness and generosity. That doesn't mean to say we have to agree with each other all the time, but we can discuss things and we can be quite strong in our faith, in our beliefs and in our attitudes, but we need to be also listening, and we need to recognize that we have much in common with each other, living in Basingstoke, Amazingstoke, or the Donut City, however you want to describe it, as fellow human beings. We have a lot in common, as well as differences from which we can discuss and learn. We shouldn't be forcing our views on other people, nor should we be deplatforming them either. The Interfaith Group is planning 2 more events this year, a peace walk in September, when we can come together and walk for peace and express our commitment to a peaceful existence, peaceful living together. And also one of my favorite evenings of the year, a meal, an interfaith meal at Beacott in November. So I'm looking forward to both of those, and I hope many people will be able to join us. I'm struck by the words of the song we heard a short while ago. We are blessed to be together. And as the opportunities to get together open up again now, we are indeed blessed. And so my prayer is that we will be blessed by meeting together and discussing and arguing and being good friends together. And also that we will be a blessing to others through whatever we do to help others and be with others. So thank you very much for putting on this evening and for inviting me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. And I think the message I got from your short speech was a call to kindness. So I'd like to relay that as well. And I think many people will hopefully have noted down and will keep track of those 2 events that you will be running and hopefully participate as well. We're almost running out of time, so I want to pass it quickly over to Sushmita, who is the choreographer at Color the Art, which is a dance company, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, if I've mispronounced your name, my apologies, but over to you.
Thank you, dear friends. It has been lovely listening to you, all of you. Good evening, everybody. Wonderful listening to all of you. I'm pleased I'm at the last because that meant I could listen to all of you. And good evening, dear Mayor and the Mayor's escort. I have been sort of listening to some wonderful and inspirational conversations this morning. And I feel very privileged to be invited to this platform by the Dialogue Society. Thank you so much. And wishing my dear friends a happy Ramadan. So my sort of journey, my association with Ramadan is quite close one, because when I came to this country, I ended up in Southall, and my family, I would say, call them, because I still keep in touch. They were Muslim families, they were artists from Mumbai. So we stayed with them for years, and obviously as they fasted, I would fast with them. But then later on in my life, I sort of developed diabetes too. So obviously the fasting could be something I could not continue. So obviously today with all of you, I'm celebrating that and also talking about the community spirits. Living in Basingstoke for years, I particularly feel very privileged that the Basingstoke community is very resilient. I have a lot of friends in Basingstoke, and I feel very proud of that. I feel very privileged. I live in Basingstoke. I run a small charity, as was just told, it's an arts charity. So with the sort of pandemic, what happened was when we were doing the class, and I think the class took place at the Wine School, we teach young children, adults, and young people. So I think it was because we have been used to dancing in spaces, in schools, in theaters, name it, anywhere. And this was like sort of a model we were not very used to, the pandemic, and we were not very used to being in isolation. We drew energy by dancing together with each other. And we made each other strong as well by being together. We thought about it, and I think the demand came from our students, because some of them are in IT. So they just suggested to us this platform of Zoom, let us try it out. So we sort of got hold of licenses for sort of Zoom, and we tried it. It didn't give the same effect, I'll be honest, because a lot of our practitioners who were dancing alone. We weren't dancing together. We were all appearing together, but we were dancing alone. But yes, we were very safe. And I think as the time progresses, we got better at the art of dancing alone and creating work differently. So what we did was we told stories. We used different mediums to tell stories. So we used music, different types of music. We created stories using our hand gestures, and we told story across the world. So we started stories from Persia. We shared stories from Far East, Malaysia. We shared stories from America. We share story from England. In the meantime, also what we found was we somehow inherited a lot of the doctors and NHS people onto our classes. So we looked after their children while the parents went out to work and looked after the patients rather. And I think what we felt was they were very happy that we were able to provide them a service where their family was happy and they were able to do the art form as well. We did not stop there. So we practitioners somehow changed every sessions. We talked about it. And we also came up, we wrote to the Arts Council, and the Arts Council was generous enough to give us a little funding, which was to rescue us from this situation. So we were very happy and grateful for that. So as part of that, what we did was we set up a Kahani project. Kahani was about listening to stories by grandmoms, by children, by parents, everybody, the whole community. So one of our grandma was Pramila Ben, who actually sort of told a story how she grew up in Africa, and she moved here and celebrated it on the online platform. It was responded by a lot of people, I must say. We felt very blessed. There was a lot of engagement on the Zoom platform. There were lots of generations taking part together. That was very, very comforting for us. Also, the artists started creating work on the online platform, and we met as often as we could or we were allowed to. And as a result of it, also, we were working with schools in Reading. So some of these children actually created work, which they got awards for as well, Arts Mark Awards from the Arts Council. So it was wonderful to see how we could use this opportunity. So some of the things which we thought was a hindrance turned out as opportunities as well. It was time to reflect. It was time to think. Amongst the midst of it, I sort of encountered a personal I had a personal journey, which was my father passed away. He was living in isolation and in India. So, and this was just 7 days before our performance. So I think I had to have a calling from inside, how can I dance? It's like I was grieving. I hadn't even spoken to people. I think then I think it was what was the reason for doing it was some of our artists actually, because we worked with some LGBT artists, and then they have got very little money, access to very little money in this period. If they never worked, they wouldn't get paid. So I think the thought of them not having work, especially when they had prepared for all this, really was such a strong thing for me. I felt, well, doesn't matter whether I perform or not, let me just be there to support them. And which is what I did. And the energy they danced with, and what happened was they somehow energized me to be part of that. And when I was dancing, it felt like my father, who was a dancer himself, he was watching us and he was blessing us. So he was there somewhere within us, sort of being part of that community. We heard comments like, so we worked with, during this period, we also worked with a lot of cancer patients as well. We shared stories with them. We heard their stories. We converted them into dances, which became very personal stories for them. Some of them said it brought their BP levels low. Some of them said we felt very happy actually during this period. We actually did more because we didn't have to travel. So we saved time traveling. There were parents who lost jobs. So we embraced them and then we offered them free lessons. And self-esteem, happiness, the sense of belonging increased. And I think I would like to sort of finish off saying there is a quote, very famous quote we often use in dance to celebrate dance, to bring everybody together. It's called Vasudeva Kutambake, which is the world is one. And I think, for artists, we have this huge platform. And I think apart from all the, things we have not been able to achieve, but we felt we have connected with the world during this last 1.5 years. It has been an incredible journey. We have danced more than ever before. Yes, we have danced in isolation, by ourselves, but we have got we have made so many friends. And thank you so much for listening to me, everybody.
Thank you very much, Sushmita, and my condolences for your loss as well. And thanks for sharing that very personal story. I'd like to thank all our speakers and thank the Dialogue Society for organising this iftar evening for the community in Basingstoke and touching upon such an important topic in rekindling the community spirit. I'm sure everyone's had enough of my voice. I'm going to finally pass over to Mr. Osman, who's going to share a short prayer with us, and that will be the end of our evening. So thank you very much, and over to you, Osman.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Brother Halil. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of God, the most merciful, the most beneficent, we offer our thanks and gratitude for the food we have been given and for those who prepared it. In a world where so many are hungry, may we eat this food with humble hearts. On these blessed days, brighten the faces of orphans and those who have no one with happiness and joy, and unite them with their loved ones, all those who spend this Ramadan away from their families. We offer our thanks and gratitude for each member of our community and the opportunity that we all have to come together to do good. Dear God, may you bless our efforts and help us sit present with one another, mindful of our purpose. O Allah, I pray that unity may prevail in our community. Help us to become an instrument of your peace. Help us in the city to come together to resolve the issues that affect us all. Help us cooperate well in overcoming health issues and prejudice. O Allah, protect all of humanity from all kinds of disasters and dangers. Send your help to those who are oppressed, persecuted, and those who are struck with famine and hunger in every part of the world, wherever they may be. Tonight them, your aid and benevolence, beautify our faiths and grant us health and well-being. In these pressing times, we have to reflect over all those lives that have been taken from the global pandemic. O Allah, protect those in our communities who have contracted and are suffering due to the coronavirus disease. Protect our medical doctors, nurses, and the supporting staff who are in the front line of the fight against COVID. Oh Allah, may your love and compassion flow through us and to those around us. Give us pity and concern for their misfortunes and suffering. Give us the compassion and empathy we need to understand what those in our community are going through. Help us to love them all. Help us not to judge or condemn, but rather come alongside them to offer support. Amen. O Allah, you are indeed capable of everything. Ameen.
Amen. Thank you very much for that very comprehensive. I'm running out of words as well. I think we're all very hungry and looking forward to our iftars. Thank you, Mr. Osman. Thank you to all of those who have participated, all of our panelists and all those tuning in tonight. I hope you have a happy Eid when it does come around, the Ramadan Mubarak, and have a good evening. Thank you.